Hey, Cody here with Adapted DIYers. What we're going to talk about today is thin plywood for the CNC machine and how I cut mine. I had to switch my bits out, and I want to talk a little bit about that as well. And I also figured out how to do an advanced V-carve, which is a flat bottom V-carve on Carbide Create, the free one, and it's for my long mill. It was built for Shampoko, but there's a way around it, and I'll share that with you. So stick around, and thanks for tuning in. Okay, so what we have here is a 1/4 inch sheet of oak plywood from Lowe's that I got. Actually, it measures 0.255 is what it actually measures, so it's 5/1000ths bigger than a 1/4 inch. But this is the bits that I'm using now. They're called flat bits. Let me see if I can get that on camera here. See how they're shaped? They have a flat side to them, and that's it. This is a two flute. It's got two flutes, obviously, and this is a regular end mill. These are both 1/8 inch. They measure. And with this end mill, this is a down cut. And what happens is when it cuts down to the bottom, if you're cutting something out, it's going to be frayed as all get out, and you're going to have the same thing if it's a upcut end mill on the top of the plywood. It'll cut and it'll tear at this little tiny layer of ply. You see the 3 layers. There's one on the bottom, one on the top, one in the middle, and one on the top, and they are super thin. So the goal is to get a nice clean cut without tearing that, and that bit achieves it. And for details, I got this 1/8 inch. I'm thinking about getting a 1/4 inch too. I'm not quite sure yet though, because I'm not doing big hog outs, so the 1/4 or the 1/8 inch seems to be working pretty good for me. I did order a 1/16 though. Actually, I got 2 of them now, just in case I break it. But this thing goes in and cleans up really nice too. So in coordinates with this, I'll show you what projects we're working on. I got this paw print plan that I'm doing. People love it. It's a Christmas ornament, and you can put any custom name on it. And I'll put a link to the file in the description. It's on Etsy. I think it's $4. It's not bad. And I do an epoxy inlay, and I can also show you that process here in the video. But yeah, so we'll get to that. And also, with this first pass, it's going to be the advanced V-carve, so I'll get that out of the way as well right off the bat and show you how to get that done so that you can have a nice flat bottom V-carve. You're going to need a piece of paper, obviously, for unless you have a bit setter. If you have a bit setter, then you're good. Just use that. The advanced V-carve has 2 different tools to it. It's the same path, but it has 2 different tools. So it stops mid-job to have you switch out the bits. And what it does is it pulls it up, and then it stops, and it'll put the program on hold. It'll say, instead of idle, it'll say hold for the tool change. And mine is picking it up 0.08 inches from the surface. So I got a feeler gauge, and I got the perfect one set up to where when I set this down, it's 0.08 of an inch. Or, yeah, 0.08 of an inch. And then I just bring my bit down to that, and I'll show you that. It's a little tricky, but it works really well, and it speeds things up. So let's get started on it. Enough talking. So now that I did the pocket, it stopped, and it's asking for a tool change. What it does is up here on the screen, it says hold. And what it's doing is it's holding for the tool change. And the Shampoko has, in the software for the sender for it, it has a tool change section to it. So all we're doing is we're faking it out and telling it that we did the tool change. So I got the feeler gauge. All this is the right two blades. I think this one is, let's see here. Yep, 0.013 and 0.012 is what we have together. The last one was 0.8, so it does change from job to job, it seems. I don't know why, but it does. But that's right. So what we're going to do is manually grab it and wind it up. Yes, you're losing your Z right there, but you still have your X and Y, so there's nothing wrong with it. You pick it up far enough to where you can change your bit. Quarter inch B90. And I just bring it back down. And don't try to pull on it to get it to go down or anything. Just sit there and wind it. Be patient. Be mindful of the belt. You don't want to hurt the belt. Picked it up a little bit too high, but that's alright. You just bring your bit down. See how I can't move it? And you're being gentle with it. Get it to where you can just feel it touching. And you're good. Now the machine's set to your Z axis and you're ready to continue the program. So, I always make sure that's double tight. Or I double check if that's tight. Because I have forgotten to tighten that before. Yeah, tight. And the bit started moving. I noticed it while I was carving, so I just stopped the job. But now our Z is set for the job, the second half of this tool path, Advanced V-Carve. By the way, you see how clean that is? The cut, I'll show you after it's done. I'll sand it back and you'll see there's a lot of fuzzies, just little tiny ones, but they come off real easy. Like, see these guys here along that? You just sand with the grain very gently with the small parts. See how clean that is? It's really hard to get that with even with a compression bit because you're going down so small of an area. The flat bit seems to be the answer. So let's continue this. And all I'm going to do now is I'm going to go up there, see the play button. That's all you got to do is hit play. And it'll do the rest for you. Eighth inch end mill, or eighth inch straight bit. I like moving it away from the corner to set my Z. I don't have a touch plate, but a touch plate would be amazing in this job because of how many times I gotta set the zero. It'd just make it a lot easier. So I'm looking into ordering one. So far what I hear is they're on back order for the long mill, so I'll just wait till they get caught up. So we got our Z, so now we'll return it back to zero. I always pick it up half an inch before I'm about to do the job, and we'll get her going. Okay, so I'm gonna have to go into the program and adjust my retract height for the next time I go to use it, because it left little nicks here and there. They'll sand out though, because it's not all the way through the ply, so we're good. You seen this little trick here? It almost didn't work out for me, but I forgot to put tabs on this piece, and I've tried using sticky back stuff, and I didn't have good luck. I broke bits trying it, because what happens is they'll get hung up in there and then pop, it'll break your bit, no problem. So I'm gonna have to adjust that, but basically that's it. That's all the running we need to do. Next thing I do is while it's up here, take sandpaper and I just hit it a little bit. I try to go with the grain, because this is your chance to be able to sand it without having to sand each individual little guy. So it kind of cuts down on time, because it holds it all down at once for you. Then I go over it with a stiff bristled brush. That knocks all the hairs and everything off. Helps to go in a circular motion. It just helps to tear all them little hairs up. There we go. Give you a little close up of it. Got some dust on it. See how that touch plate would help? See, that's just that little bit right there. But it won't show up because I'm going to be filling it with epoxy. That's why I'm doing it right now, because I don't have the touch plate to get a perfect pocket. But if you have a touch plate and you can get it figured out, it'll be a good deal for you. There we go. I decided to do a couple little fish. So we'll get the tabs off that, and we'll meet you in the application room where we're going to put some epoxy on these guys here. Okay, so we're up in the application room. There's the pieces that I carved out down there. And what I'm going to do is I'll show you how I seal them and put epoxy in them, and then I'll show you the finished product. Not these guys though. I got some new ones I already made up that I'll show you when they're done. Just to kind of speed things up a little bit on my end. But this is what I use to seal. Bullseye shellac. Get it in a clear. You can get it in amber too if you want a different, darker color, but I like the clear because it doesn't stick out so much. So what I'm going to do is open it up. I'm going to mix it up a little bit. There we go. I'll put some on my brush and I'm just going to dab it around. All I'm doing is I'm sealing the wood up so that the epoxy doesn't bleed into the wood and color it. It's a nice, clean, crisp line when you sand it back. So I'm going to do this 2 times on everything. I let it dry first. It only takes about 10 minutes for it to dry. And you coat them. I just kind of blop it around, doesn't matter, because it's going to seal it, trust me. So I just kind of move it around. You don't want to put a whole bunch of product in there, but you don't have to be liberal. You just kind of move it around. It's okay if it gets on your finger. It's pretty easy to take off. A little hot water, not a big deal. And these guys, we're gonna pour and fill the inside of them with epoxy. I'm gonna put tape on the back side of them. I'll show you that little trick. So for these guys, I'm gonna seal both sides. I'm gonna try to get inside of the snowflakes. That way it doesn't bleed. Usually I wear a glove for this. There we go. That's how we're going to do it. And I'll put these 2 coats on, then I'll show you how to do the packing tape to seal the bottom, and we'll get some epoxy going. Okay, so we're just about ready to get the epoxy started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take regular packing tape. you can get at Walmart or whatever, it doesn't matter the brand or anything. I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna put it right over that snowflake on this side of it. Then you make sure it's got good contact. There's a spot missing, so I'll just get another piece. If you're ever in question whether or not you're gonna accidentally hit it, always put more tape because you don't want a leak. It's never fun. There. Now they're all sealed up on the bottom and ready. And then when we're done, all we'll have to do is peel that off. So them three are ready. I have all my pigment powders, which are just colorants. You know, they come, I got mixed colors. I mix them up just to make them look a little different and better, you know. But let me get a here's the epoxy, or here's the pigment that I use. Jewelescent. It's not bad. Or if you want to pay the money, this is good stuff. Eye candy. And this is the snowflake. I love this stuff. See that? It's kind of pricey. This bottle I think was 15 bucks, and it's 25 grams. I have some dyes. This is Lumilite. I'm going to use green and blue. Just a tiny bit. It goes a long way, I'll show you. I'm just gonna use various glitters, you know. But get my gloves on. I'll explain to you what I have going on with the epoxy. This is the epoxy I use. Pro Marine. This stuff is awesome. This is a tabletop blend. I use that for all my counters, tables, little stuff like this. It works really well. You can pour it up to a 1/4 inch thick. So this is a 1/4 inch, so it'll be safe. If you go over that, it's gonna overheat and start reacting and stuff. So what I'm gonna do is mix them together. I use these little cups from the dollar store and ice cream sticks. I got this one sitting in hot water. This is part A. This is the thicker stuff. When you pour it out, you'll feel it. It's a lot thicker, like molasses. If you heat it up, it makes it better to work with. Less bubbles, it mixes easier, you know, so on and so forth. It's just better. So we'll go ahead and mix them together. We'll get some colors going. I'm doing the Grinches way down here. Carve them out too. Working on them. This is a little side project, but I'm gonna be doing them green as well. Let me see if I can at least put one of them on camera for you. There you go. And another project I'm working on. I got a wood lathe and I turn epoxy too. It's fun. So if you need to know anything about epoxy, let me know. I can answer all your questions. Okay, so when I'm scraping, this is part B. Or this is part A. I'm dumping in part B. See how they're already mixed? They look goofy. I scrape it. I make sure I get every little bit out of that cup because it matters with the measurement. The closer you get, the harder it'll cure. So they're both together. And then we mix. You don't want to mix too fast. You don't want to be in a hurry. Because if you mix too fast, you'll start adding a lot of bubbles, and then you're going to have bubbles everywhere to deal with. They're not that bad, but you get a better product if you just do it right the first time around. So after mixing just a little bit, I'll scrape the sides. Make sure I'm getting the bottom good. Now I'll pull my stick out and I'll scrape it, because I'm getting all that part, the thicker part, off of there, putting it back in to get mixed. And I'll do that 2 or 3 times through the process. I always hand mix epoxy. Whoopsie, I'm rushing it a little bit. I always hand mix epoxy. I don't use drills. It just causes issues. Sorry if my voice seems a little shot. It's later on at night. I'm getting a little tired. Okay, so see how it's not, it's got to be perfectly clear, and if you stir that up just a little bit, let me see if I can get some lines going. Can you see it's still kind of fuzzy? It's not quite clear. See that? You want to keep mixing until everything's clear, and you want to keep scraping the sides and scraping your stick until everything's really clear. Alright, now it's all mixed up, really clear, other than the bubbles. You start dumping them into the color cups. Just a little bit at a time. You'll get the hang for how much you're going to need in each one. But I always prep and have everything ready to go before I pour. Alright, so what we're going to do first is the Christmas one. So go ahead and mix the pigment in. It's just powder pigment. When you start mixing, don't mix super fast, because you'll get, the powder will come up and you don't want to breathe it. So mix slow so it mixes in there good. You want to mix it really good, otherwise you'll end up with these things called tadpoles, which is unmixed pigments clumps. You don't want that. So same thing. You know, you scrape the stick, scrape the cup. Red, I'll warn you now, if you're using pigment, red does not work. So, see that? It's not quite, it's like pinkish or lavender or magenta. So what I do is take a little bit of regular acrylic paint. It's from Walmart. This is bright red. And mix just a little bit in there with it. If I can get it to come out. Sometimes the caps get plugged. So I'll put a little dab in. Like that. There. All it takes is a little dab to bring the color back to red. See the difference? This bright red and the other deeper color is pigment. So if you mix them together, creates a nice lustery red. Same goes for all the colors. White. This is called luster. It's my favorite. If you ever try to get white pigment, it's off. It's like a pearl. This is the closest I can find. I call it luster. That's the closest white that I can find. You can add white paint to it to make it more white. And we're going to mix up these guys. These are going to be for the snowflakes. And this has glitter in it. 2 different kinds. And we're going to take, see the glitter? See how it looks kind of goofy? So what we're going to do is I'm going to take some of this dye. And I'm not joking a bit. I'm going to take a toothpick. That's how potent this stuff is. I'm going to take a toothpick and get it right on there. I'll get it off the, see here. Make sure we get it away from everything. There there's, get rid of just a little bit. See, that's all we need. One little, one little drop. And that might even be too much. So what I'll do is I'll just move it around in there. See that? And I'll mix it in. See the difference? Pretty, right? Then I'll do green over here. Different Q-tip. I mixed a couple different glitters and pigment into this. See, it looks goofy without having a color to it. As soon as you add that color though, it makes it pop. I apologize for the long video. I'm covering a lot of stuff, so bear with me. Yeah, very little. I'm gonna actually try to get less in this one. See, I just kind of swirled it around just a wee tiny little bit. Oh, that was the blue again. I guess we're going blue for both. Actually, you know what? I got a fix for that. Should have paid attention to the labels. They are color coded. That's right, though. We'll take some of this green and make it turquoise. There, set that guy over there. There we go. See, it's like a deeper teal almost now. Alright. I buy these on Amazon. They're just little syringes. This is here's the label in case you want to look it up. And you just take your, you know what, we're going to leave red alone for a minute. I'm going to do white first. You kind of want to hold pressure and you'll see it fill up. You don't need a whole lot, believe it or not. But this helps control how much. So it's okay if you get some on the wood itself. That's why we seal it, so that you don't have to worry about that. Okay. A little bit more little cup over here. Just in the bottom. I'm trying to seal up the hole for it. Okay. Now we'll go with green. I'm trying to make it to where I only have to use one syringe. These I do a little different. I'll show you the process for the Grinches. For any kind of V-carve, pretty simple. You just put it on like that and then take a card and swipe it off. Okay. Oh, fill that. Oh, snowflakes up. Now that we got them out of the way, we can do the red. And I always, you want to flush your needle if you're going to try this. You just kind of pull over and then you shoot it back in. And just kind of stay away from that area. You don't need a whole lot of red, so. Like I said, the needle's not for control of where it's going to go, but more or less how much you're putting on, because if you try to dump it out of a cup, it can get messy and you're going to dump way too much on accident. This, you can control it a little better. You practice with it and you get good with it and you're good. Now that everything's filled, you take your colors that you got left and kind of play with them a little bit. Like I just put that luster in with that one. Looks kind of cool. I ain't even gonna mix it much. I'm just gonna leave it like that. So I have these outs over here. They got messed up. You can see it. I tried cutting peanut and this one didn't go right and the flakes got messed up. So I'm just making them, and you know, people are picking them up for cheap. I don't care much about it. I'm just gonna kind of dump this one in. Alright, then you get you a shop towel. Set it aside. You take a stir stick, I showed you before. And this is what you do to fill the little holes you got going on. You just kind of push it around. Of course, you're going to want to kind of go color with the colors you're working with, so you don't mix them too much. You wipe that color off. You move to the next color. You're just kind of moving it around and filling all the little holes to make sure that everything's filled. Don't care too much about how much is sitting on top, because you're going to be sanding that anyway. Now you can go through and take a little bit off if you want. Carefully. These guys I like to hold up though. I do this. Let me see, I'll just do it right here. You just scrape it. There you go. That just took excess epoxy off, so you don't have to sand it later. See all that? Now when you go to sand them back, you're going to want to be very careful. You're going to want to use a finish sander with like, I would start out at 400 grit just to get the feel for it. I start out at 220 because I kind of got the feel for it now. You want to be careful because you'll sand through that one ply that I showed you earlier. That was about the most waste I had. You know, if I had something else sitting around, I could coat it. But I'm not a fan of red, so. And here's what they look like when they're done. This is a white one, spike. This is Oliver, they wanted a maroon. And I get holographic glitter from Michaels. And everybody just loves that holographic. That's in the red. Obviously you can tell. This has just pigment, but you can see it sparkle. But when you do that sanding back, boy, it really comes out. So the closer, more definition you can get with your carve, it'll show up in the finished product. So you sand it back, you go over it with a clear lacquer or something that's clear. I can even show you this. Rust-Oleum crystal clear enamel. And you just hit it with 2 coats of that after you sand it, and you're good. Last little bit, your torch, and there's bubbles. You're gonna want to pop the bubbles on them. So what you do is you just light your torch and you move it. You don't keep it on it steady for a long time. You want to keep it moving. You want to keep it about 2 inches off of the epoxy. and if you keep it moving, you're good. If you don't, you'll overheat it and burn the epoxy. You can probably see the bubbles popping. There's a couple little spots I need to fix up still, I can see, but that's alright. I'll get it. Nope, this one's running out of fuel. Always have a backup torch too. Okay, and that's that. You just let that sit and cure. You can mess with it a little bit if you want to. Like I got this Christmas one over here. I think I'm gonna leave it like that, but I got this Christmas one over here that I think I want to swirl. So we'll just go in with this toothpick. Just kind of swirl the colors around a little bit. I'll do the green first. Try not to touch the red too much. Green into the white. Well, thanks for watching my video, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see future videos like this, hit the subscribe button down below, and it'll notify you every time I put a new video out. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me on here, or you can message me on Facebook too, at Adaptive DIYers, facebook.com/Adaptive DIYers, and I can help you with epoxy if you have any questions with it or anything, because I know it's kind of a new thing on the market. But that's it. Thanks for watching. Take care.